The wine stain spread across my white dress like blood on snow, and Victoria's smirk told me everything I needed to know about accidents. That Thanksgiving dinner would be the last time I'd sit at their table as the family disappointment. But I didn't know it yet. I stood there, in the opulent dining room of the Reed family mansion, red wine dripping from the dress I'd sewn myself, while my sister Victoria adjusted her designer blazer with theatrical innocence. The crystal chandelier cast dancing shadows across faces that had watched me disappear for 28 years. "Oh, Evelyn," Victoria said, her voice dripping with mock concern. "Clumsy as always. You better clean that up. It's the only thing you're good at, isn't it?" The familiar sting of her words should have sent me scrambling for paper towels, apologizing profusely as I'd done countless times before. Instead, something inside me snapped. Maybe it was the way Mother Eleanor laughed not with surprise, but with approval. Maybe it was the way Father Richard didn't even look up from carving the turkey. Or maybe it was simply that I'd finally run out of excuses for why I kept coming back to this beautiful prison. "I'm not your servant, Victoria," I said, my voice steady despite the tremor in my hands. "And Mother, I'm not your disposable daughter either." The silence that followed was deafening. Victoria's eyes flashed with rage, and before I could process what was happening, she grabbed her designer heel and hurled it at me. Time slowed as I caught the shoe midair and threw it back, watching it connect with her shocked face before clattering against the wall. "Don't ever touch me again," I said, then turned and walked away from 28 years of being invisible in my own family. The memories hit me as I drove away that night, each one a paper cut that had somehow carved out my soul over the decades. I was 6 when I brought home my first place art award from school, only to watch Mother Eleanor set it aside to help Victoria with her homework. "Victoria needs help," she'd said dismissively. "You're good at these little things anyway, aren't you, dear?" At 10, I'd taught myself to play a complicated piano piece, desperate to share something beautiful with my parents. I'd waited all day for the right moment, finally approaching the piano during Victoria's recital practice. "That's nice, Evelyn," Father Richard had said without turning around, "but tonight is Victoria's night." The pattern was set early and reinforced constantly. Victoria received a bright red sports car for her 16th birthday while I walked 2 miles in the rain to my part-time job. When I won first place in the state-level stock market simulation at 15, no one from my family attended the ceremony. They were all at Victoria's regional debate championship, cheering for a speech that I later discovered contained entire paragraphs from my research paper that she'd stolen. Each disappointment should have broken me, but instead, it forged something harder inside. I started working more hours, hiding money under my mattress, staying up late in the library, reading financial journals after everyone had gone to sleep. Pain became fuel. Contempt became determination. College was my first taste of freedom. I chose a small public university far from home, living in a cramped studio apartment that cost more than my family spent on Victoria's weekly allowance. But it was mine, and for the first time in my life, I wasn't Victoria's little sister. Dr. Eris Thorne changed everything. The distinguished finance professor saw something in me that my own family had missed for 18 years. "Markets don't play favorites, Evelyn," he told me during one of our late-night study sessions. "Numbers don't lie. Let them be your compass." Through Dr. Thorne, I met Marcus, his son and a graduate student, whose gentle encouragement slowly taught me that not everyone would use my kindness against me. "You see the hidden patterns in market data," Marcus told me one evening as we studied together. "You have vision that most people lack." Marcus became more than a boyfriend. He became my anchor. When the text messages from home remained brief and dismissive, when Mother Eleanor called only to complain about something Victoria needed, Marcus reminded me that I was building something worthwhile. My internship at a prestigious hedge fund should have been a triumph worth celebrating. My analysis saved clients millions of dollars, and senior partners were taking notice. When I sent the news home, Mother Eleanor's response was typically crushing. "Law is still a more respectable profession, dear. Victoria is preparing for her bar exam." That's when I realized my family would never change. No achievement would ever be enough. No success would ever matter. They had cast me as the supporting character in Victoria's story, and they intended to keep me there forever. Graduation day crystallized everything. While I received academic honors and job offers, my parents chose to attend Victoria's award ceremony in Boston instead. Marcus stood beside me after the ceremony, his disappointment evident. "You have to choose yourself, Evelyn," he said quietly. "If you don't, I can't keep watching you disappear." I couldn't make that choice fast enough, and Marcus left for California with his father's blessing and my heart. The financial crisis hit simultaneously, wiping out job offers and forcing me back to the family home with my tail between my legs. "Useless as always," Mother Eleanor said when I returned. "You should learn from Victoria how to build a real career." I swallowed my tears and started planning. Mr. Sterling's small financial firm hired me 5 months later. He was a veteran who recognized talent when he saw it, regardless of pedigree. "You cut through waste like a surgeon," he told me. "Show me what you can do." I worked relentlessly, handling the most complex cases while learning risk management and portfolio construction. But my real education happened after hours, when I built my own empire in secret. Money flowed into hidden accounts, investments grew, and I learned to wear weakness as camouflage. At home, I maintained the facade of struggle. I did chores without complaint, accepted criticism without defense, and let them believe I was still the failure they'd always seen. Strength grows best in darkness, I told myself. 3 years later, I accepted a senior position in Seattle. My family assumed I was still barely surviving financially, a narrative I carefully maintained with modest postcards and vague updates about my little job. By 26, my portfolio had crossed the $500,000 mark. I sent simple cards home, never revealing the truth about my financial independence. I'm building an exit they'll never see coming, I reminded myself during the lonely evenings. The phone call came 1 week after that disastrous Thanksgiving. Mother Eleanor's voice had shifted from its usual condescending tone to something I'd never heard before: desperation. "Evelyn, please, Victoria is in trouble." I said 3 words. "The servant is busy in Seattle," and hung up. Aunt Carol called with the details that evening. Victoria had been suspended from practicing law for misconduct, was drowning in debt, and facing foreclosure on her apartment. Father Richard needed emergency surgery, but insurance was denying coverage. The family mansion was in jeopardy. "You have to help, Evelyn," Aunt Carol pleaded. "You're the only one who can save them." "They called me useful and named it love," I said calmly. "Now that's their invoice. I have all the receipts." I spent the evening writing terms and conditions on legal paper. No emotion, just logic. Term 1. A public, specific apology for 28 years of contempt. Term 2. No comparisons to Victoria. Term 3. My photograph goes on their walls. Term 4. No orders, no chores, no supervision by Victoria. Term 5. If I pay, it's a transparent contract with only my signature. I'll help Father. I decided. Compassion matters more than history, but I won't subsidize the stage where I disappeared. When Mother Eleanor called back with the familiar family manipulation, I was ready. "We're family," she began. "We need to stick together when things get difficult." "Now I'm family, Mother?" I asked. "Or am I just an employee with better math skills? You say Victoria is drowning? Then let her swim." I booked a flight home, packing legal documents instead of clothes. Before landing, I sent Mother one message. "Tomorrow, invite everyone who ever applauded." They were expecting a wallet. I brought the light of truth. The next morning, I stood before the mansion that had housed my childhood but never my dreams. The girl who used to clean up spilled wine was gone forever. "I didn't fly here to forget," I announced as I entered the grand foyer. "I flew here to remember, and to make everyone remember." The family meeting convened in the dining room where wine had stained my dress just days earlier. I positioned myself where the gravy boat usually sat, legal documents spread before me like evidence in a courtroom. "The agenda is simple," I began. "Truth, surgery, new rules." Mother Eleanor started her rehearsed family speech, but I cut her off. "Then family can handle specifics." I placed my documentation on the table with the weight of a judge's gavel. Timeline, screenshots, voicemails, a long list of unpaid labor that you called love. When I say apology, I want a public and specific acknowledgement. 28 years of treating me as less than. Say it out loud. Victoria, hiding behind designer sunglasses, laughed dismissively. "You're holding Dad hostage." "You taught me how to negotiate," I replied evenly. "Did you forget the receipts?" Father Richard spoke up weakly from his chair. "I need the surgery." "I'll pay," I assured him. "Directly to the hospital today, not $1 through intermediaries." Mother Eleanor stared at Victoria's Harvard diploma on the wall, then slowly nodded. "I favored Victoria. I was wrong. I turned you into a servant in your own home." The room fell silent. Victoria's turn came next. She swallowed hard. "I spent money I didn't have," I lied. "I treated you like hired help. I used you." I slid my phone across the table, screen bright with evidence. Seattle house papers, account balances, verification, not bragging. I hid this because feeling small felt safer. I'm not small anymore. The banks agree with me. Whispers rippled through the room. "She's the successful one." "Numbers don't waver," I replied. "They remember who created them." I read my new rules aloud. No comparisons to Victoria. My photographs on these walls this week, or leave them empty. No chores, no orders, no Victoria supervision. Tell the truth about me, or say nothing. I called the hospital immediately, confirming direct payment for Father's surgery. His operation was scheduled within hours. Mother Eleanor reached across the table to touch my hand. I allowed the contact. "Boundaries aren't punishment," I explained. "They're instruction manuals. Violate them, and I leave." The doors locked behind me. Victoria's final attempt at control came as expected. "You're cruel." "I'm accurate," I corrected. "Today, I remove the humiliation." Under Victoria's trophy wall, I pointed to an empty space. Replace them, or leave it blank until the story tells the truth. Mother Eleanor nodded, tears in her eyes. Uncle Sergio raised his glass quietly. To Evelyn, he said. A few others joined him. In the hallway, Father Richard stopped me before I left. Thank you, he said simply. I see you now. For the first time, I believed him. Outside, the last porch light finally went dark. The winter air wasn't cold anymore, it clarified what remained. I had saved a heart and rewritten a history. The hardest part wasn't paying the bills. It was keeping the doors locked. January in Seattle was cold but honestly bright. Father's surgery went well, and I paid the bills, then stepped back. I communicated directly with him now, not through Mother or Victoria. Mother Eleanor called less frequently, and when she did, she listened. Victoria accepted her consequences and lived quietly. At work, I took on bigger projects, built my own team. Excellence becomes boring, becomes freedom when no one pays attention. Weekends found me hiking with Marcus, who had returned after seeing my strength, learning how to be still. I sent lemon cake to grandmother and photos of myself to mother, not achievements, not balance sheets, just a woman living her own life. Some relatives apologized, some left, some waited for a new drama. I refused to play old roles, even during holidays. Boundaries hold because I hold them, not because they request them. Forgiveness is mine to give, access must be earned. Where Victoria's Harvard photo once hung, I placed a picture of myself on a mountain at sunrise. When Mother visited, she sat beneath it without comment. Silence finally worked for me instead of against me. I began mentoring 2 young women who loved spreadsheets and sunsets. I told them, open doors you own, not cages you polish. With Father Richard, gratitude was enough. We slowly rebuilt our relationship. I don't owe a reunion tour. I owe myself a life. The doorbell works and so does the deadbolt. The queen doesn't serve anymore. They decide which doors matter. I walked out of the shadows into my own world, and I'm just getting started.